Well, you guys seem to really enjoy part one of this experiment, so I've got to do a part two. Hello and welcome back to the TomFM channel. Today we're doing the Premier League bankrupting experiment. I've bankrupted every single Premier League club and we've just got a few years in the future to see what happens, sort of thing. So if you've not seen part one of this, I recommend you go and watch that before you watch this one. There'll be a link in the top right corner of the video right now. Go watch that one, catch up with everything, and then come back for this one for part two of bankrupting every single Premier League club. So then, first of all, a quick recap. Basically, we've gone into the editor and bankrupted every single Premier League club. We've also removed the players of every single Premier League club as well. Now, this was a bit of a contentious debate in the comment section. Basically, I deleted the players because I did this experiment. I did a test run of it, basically, before I recorded it. And in the test, even though I didn't delete the players, they pretty much kept them. No one really sold players to try and make money, which didn't really change anything. So the Premier League itself didn't really change. So it was still like Man City, Liverpool, Man United at the top three sort of thing. So nothing particularly changed. To try and make it a bit more interesting as well, we reduced the reputation of Liverpool, Man United, Man City and Chelsea. We reduced the reputation of those four clubs just to make it a little bit more exciting and a bit more catalyst for change straight away rather than having to wait quite a while for something to change. And obviously a few of you pointed that out saying that's perhaps not fair, but we just did it for the sake of entertainment and trying to speed things up a little bit and trying to get a massive change happening. Anyway, I hope you can understand why I made those changes and why I've justified them, sort of thing. We'll do another experiment, I think. Got one coming up very soon to do with reputation. We're going to be swapping the club reputations of Premier League sides and National League sides, and then also with the Championship and League Two, and then League One will stay as it is because they're right in the middle. But we're going to try and see if we swapping those reputations around and see if that really does make a massive difference into how the dynamic of the league works. And doing another experiment will give every club a transfer embargo instead. So everyone keeps their players and things like that. But then it's sort of down to the youth team. They can't sign new players, of course, and things like that. So some of the ageing sides in the Premier League, they'll be stuck, and perhaps the younger ones, they'll be quite good still. So that's another experiment we can try and do in a few weeks' time. If you're interested in that one, let me know in the comment section down below if you'd enjoy that. So we made all those changes to those clubs, and Man City and Chelsea instantly relegated. Man City went all the way down to League 2, Chelsea down to League 1. Cardiff went down to League 2, I think, temporarily as well. Man United, Liverpool eventually got relegated, but most bizarrely of all, West Ham United won 3 back-to-back Premier League titles. I know it's crazy, but it happened. West Ham United, with Kasper Dolberg up front for them, won the Premier League 3 times in a row. Since then, it's been a bit of Arsenal and Spurs and things like that. But this time, we've gone 5 years in the future from last episode to see what's happened in the Premier League, and we'll look at those teams again. But we're also going to take a more in-depth analysis. We're going to look at the Cups in particular, and we're going to look at European football as well to see how the English sides have been getting on in European continental competitions. So before we get right into the thick of today's video, if you've not done so already, do drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. Put those notification bells on so you never miss a video, and I guess we get going, don't we? So first things first, straight into the Premier League and the past winners. We were last here then for last episode. West Ham won 3 in a row before Stoke, Arsenal, Tottenham, and Tottenham won it. Since then, we've gone 5 years, obviously, and Stoke actually get another Premier League title. So they've now won it twice after they won it in the 25-26 season, with Tottenham and Brighton finishing 2nd and 3rd, respectively. But since then, Tottenham have won 4 in a row. So Tottenham, probably the dominant side in British football at the moment. Perhaps unlucky not to win a Premier League title yet, but Brighton, they've been 3rd and runners-up quite a few times recently. They've been very unlucky, I think, not to win the title, but Brighton seem to be a pretty decent side at the moment. They seem to be like perhaps second best. They seem to be faring better than Arsenal. Arsenal have won 1 Premier League title, but Arsenal finishing outside the top 3 more times than Brighton have. So Brighton, I think, if we have a quick look at them, they seem to be perhaps the better of the side that they've got. Axel Tuanzebe at the back. Looking at some of these players, let's go to down to general info to look at the ages of some of these players. So Tuanzebe's 32, of course. We're in 2030 now, for example. So this is a long way in the future. So most of these players now are going to be regens. Ben Wilmot, he's not a regen, I don't think. He's at Middlesbrough in real life. I thought he was a real player. I had heard of him before. I think it's because he'd been at Stevenage in League 2, where Lincoln City have been. But he's been at Middlesbrough all his career before moving to Brighton for £40 million and making 3 appearances. So not the best season for Ben Wilmot there. He spent 163 million this past season, but did sell 206 million pounds worth of players. So Brighton doing very well in terms of player sales. That was a big season because the other seasons haven't been quite as big. Although 112 million pound in player sales that season, they seem to be doing all right. Let's have a look at how much money they have as a club, Brighton. Oh, they've only got 68 million. I mean, I say only 68 million. That's still quite a lot of money, but to be fair, they seem to be doing all right, I've got to say. Facilities really done well with their facilities. They've invested a lot of money into the facilities by looks of things with really, top quality training and youth facilities. So that's fantastic for them. So Brighton, to be fair, seem to have done pretty well out of all of this situation. They become one of the best teams in the Premier League. But Tottenham, by looks of things, are the best team. Again, looking down this list, Christensen's actually there. He's obviously at Chelsea in real life. Again, they've pretty much all got regens now, apart from Christensen by looks of things. Olmo, where's he been playing at? In Spain and for Dinamo. Okay, so another player that I don't really recognise. Was a Barcelona youngster, to be fair, and then has been let go and played bloody hell, look how well he's played recently for Tottenham in these past few seasons. Those average ratings, absolutely incredible. These goal-scoring returns and assist returns are phenomenal. Even more incredibly, I've just realised he's an attacking midfielder. He's not even a striker, and yet he's scoring 15, 11, 18, 19, 20 goals in season. Right now, in your save, search him, find him, and sign him, because he looks like he's going to be absolutely incredible. So there's a bit of an insight into some of these top Premier League sides. Now, interestingly, Manchester United have come back into the Premier League. They are a sort of a lower side in the Premier League by looks of things. Only just got back recently after being promoted second in the Championship and had two low down, just about avoiding relegation, 17th there, 16th the year after, 15th this season. So steady progress for them, but they've managed to recover some of their reputation, a bit national reputation again. Okay, finances again. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is still the manager. So has he been the manager? Oh, interesting. If you look at this, he was manager 2018 to 2019, then was sacked, went to Everton, Burton, Blackburn, Swansea, Sheffield Wednesday, and has now come back to Manchester United. So he's not just stayed there, he's been around a bit. Either way, Manchester United finally recovering back to the Premier League. That's something interesting at least. Let's go and see how their City rivals, Man City, have got on recently. They're still they're in League One, which is an improvement to where they have been. As you saw, they had 3 successive relegations down into League Two, where they struggled for a few seasons. One came second in the table actually that season, and then recovered to sort of just outside the playoffs in League One. So City finally starting to get back there. If we look through their transfer history as well, they're not spending much money at all. I say that 11 million in League One last season. That's a lot of money. Although a lot of it, in fact, nearly all of it was on one particular player, Stuart Legg from Bristol City. Obviously, he must be a regen goalkeeper. He looks like quite a decent goalkeeper, to be fair, on £18,000 per week at a League One club as well, which is not to be sniffed at, of course. Flicking through a few seasons, though, that's the most they've ever spent, ever, by looks of things. They're really not spending any. 7.5 million that season. That was probably a League Two season there, to be fair. And again, was that all on one player? Because, nearly all on one player. Zach Steven from Columbus Crew. So they like to spend all their money on one player, pretty much. That's what we've got from Man City. Liverpool were another club that we saw go down quite far. If we look at Liverpool right now, they've gone down to the Championship, went down to League One, but won the title, but were relegated again straight away, and then had a few years in League One before promotion again to the Championship, and they've sort of struggled in the Championship, apart from this season when they finished 5th, but I don't think they got promoted. Chelsea then, looking through this, have all got regen players. I think this guy's the oldest player, and I think he's not actually a regen. He's come through, in fact, has always been at Chelsea, has he? Always? No, he was sold to Huddersfield and he's only just come back to Chelsea on loan again, but was a Chelsea player, youth player in real life, has been to Salford and Huddersfield and all sorts of things like that. Chelsea, very similar to Liverpool actually, had 2 relegations in a row, dropped into League One for quite a while before winning the league, and have stayed in the Championship for a few seasons. They've sort of established themselves as an upper table Championship side, probably like the Derby County, I would say, at the moment of the Championship. So whilst we're in the Championship, it's probably worth looking to see if any other top clubs are in there that have been in the Premier League when we started. Fulham, one of them, they've just missed out on promotion alongside Liverpool. Looking at Crystal Palace and Huddersfield, both in the Championship as well, alongside Everton and Chelsea. Bournemouth had just avoided relegation as well, so they've suffered quite a bit. So quite a few teams actually that were in the Premiership to start off with only dropped down one division. A snapshot of League One, and I think actually only Man City are here from, and Cardiff actually. Cardiff also in League One. So that actually could be all the clubs actually. I don't think anyone else has dropped as low as Man City and Cardiff did by looks of things. We'll check in League Two as well. No, looking down that, I can't see any more Premier League sides in that, so I assume no one else has dropped down any further than that. Scunthorpe getting relegated to the National League, just been relegated to League Two in real life. I wonder if that will happen next season for them. And yeah, just a quick look in the National League. No Premier League sides there at all that have been there in real life. So League One seems to be the lowest that they've dropped at the moment. Peterborough in the National League. They've had a bit of a torrid time, clearly, in this alternative universe. So on to some of the cups then. We need to have a look at the cups because we've not done that yet, obviously. We need to see who's been winning the cups domestically. So who's not quite been dominating in the leagues but have been dominating in the cups. And if we look through this, so it's 2018-19. This is the first season that we have the changes, and it's Reading Derby in the final. So obviously none of the Premier League sides getting there. It's the Championship sides that get there. But in the season afterwards, Tottenham managed to win it, and it's QPR, Stoke. West Ham win a cup after their period of league domination sort of dies down. They seem to have a bit of cup success at least. And but more recently, it's been Brighton who have been doing pretty well in the cup. We noted them earlier that they've been up in the top three pretty much every season in the Premier League, but hadn't won a Premier League yet. They have, though, been having some success in their Carabao Cup, winning 3 of the last 6 titles, which is pretty cool. Tottenham losing a few finals as well, so that's always pretty painful for them to see. Looking at the FA Cup, though, Brighton not winning any or getting to any finals of the FA Cup, it seems to be perhaps taken a bit more seriously because we've seen Arsenal win it a few times. Now, they've sort of missed out on the top 3 quite a bit in the Premier League, but they obviously seem to do quite well in the Cup. They've won 3 of them, lost in 3 finals as well, so they've done quite well, alongside Tottenham as well. Tottenham into a few finals, but interesting to see that like different clubs, Southampton, Bristol City, Middlesbrough, all winning it as well. West Ham obviously winning it as well in a bit of their period of domination, I think. So West Ham really had a very strong start to this experiment, but have really died off, I think, in recent years. Obviously, it's worth noting that the winner of each cup goes into the Europa League as well. So that makes quite a difference. So Bristol City winning it, are they a Premier League side? Or are they they're a Premier League side, okay. So they deserve that sort of thing. But when we start this off, particularly in the Carabao Cup, Reading winning it, QPR winning it, Brighton winning it, perhaps even Norwich, like they're maybe not the Premiership sides, they might be in the Championship sort of thing. Obviously Brighton aren't, but a Championship side isn't really going to be able to compete in the Europa League. So that's probably been a contributing factor to perhaps why there hasn't been any success. Last time we checked a little bit and there wasn't any European success. So I think we'll go to the Europa League. I think it's called the Euro Cup on this. Yeah, the Euro Cup down here. I think what I want to do is go from let's go from the quarterfinals from each year, just to have a look through to see if there's any English sides in there at all. These first few years, I don't expect there to be any English sides at all, just because we bankrupted everyone, and the sides coming up from the Championship just weren't probably going to be good enough to compete with Lazio's, Benfica's, Villarreal's, AC Milan's at all. So obviously nothing in that first season. As we go through, again, no English sides at all. We'll stop when we actually see an English side at some point. 2 English sides, okay, in the 22-23 season. So Brighton get through, but Arsenal lose. So that's the first time we've seen of English teams getting this far into the competition. If we go to the semi-final, Brighton unfortunately lose to Napoli. But that's the first sign we've had, and that's a good 5 years, 6 years after we made those changes. So clearly it affected things massively. Going forwards again, Leeds this time getting through to the semi-finals of the Europa League. They beat Villarreal. So we go to semi-finals and they lose to Porto, unfortunately. Middlesbrough losing in the quarterfinals as well. But interesting to see Leeds back up there as well. Obviously, they'll have some good memories themselves of European dominance. Well, not quite dominance, but good European days at least. And hopefully, in this save at least, they're coming back to Leeds. Hopefully, we'll see them win something in the future. Season afterwards, there were no English sides. Stoke lose in the 25-26 season quarterfinals. Arsenal lose to Brighton and Southampton lose to Milan. So Brighton go through to the semi-finals for the second time in this experiment in the 26-27 season. They beat Lyon in the semi-finals 4-0 in aggregate. Brighton to take on Napoli in the Europa League final, perhaps the weirdest final there's ever been. In the final, Brighton win it on penalties. So we have actually seen a British side win a Europa League or a European competition, which is pretty mental. I played at Hampton Park. That was quite cool. Brighton beating Napoli for it. That's a good one. I'm glad we've seen some team actually win something. The next season, West Ham lose in the quarterfinal, and then in the season after that, no English sides at all. And then the season we've just had Middlesbrough get to the semi-finals, but Norwich knocked out of the quarterfinals. Semi-finals then, if we want to select semi-finals, Middlesbrough lose to Valencia. So only one side getting to the final. Brighton won it in that time. So really, they do have a pretty decent side, and they're doing not so well. Well, they're doing very well in the league, not winning a league, but in terms of cup competitions, that's at least 4 we've seen them win now. So although a few sides have got to quarterfinals in the Europa League, the Champions League completely different. I don't think we're going to see anyone get here, unfortunately. Maybe Tottenham later on in the saves, but I just don't think anyone's going to get here. None in that first season, or the second season, or the third season, or the fourth season. Stoke get to the quarterfinals in the fifth season, the 22-23 season, but knocked out to Seville. So that's the best we've seen in the Champions League. And again, nothing after for the season. But Brighton, I think Brighton, although they've not had success in the league, I think they've probably been the best side. Just because we've seen them win a few cup competitions, get far in the Champions League, win a Europa League. Brighton are my team of the experiment, I've got to say. Unfortunately, they lose to Juventus in the quarterfinals, but it's a good effort from them as Tottenham knocked out in the quarterfinals this season after, and again, knocked out by Borussia Dortmund in the 26-27 season. Arsenal this time in the quarterfinals in the 27-28 season, but lose to Paris Saint-Germain. 28-29 season, Tottenham get through. They're the first side then we're going to see into the semi-finals of the Champions League. Tottenham beat by Leverkusen. Unfortunately, they lose to Paris Saint-Germain in the semi-finals, so they don't get through to the finals. And then the season we've just had, no English side at all in the quarterfinals. So no success, unfortunately, in the Champions League. But we have seen some decent performances, I think. So before we finish this episode, I just want to take a little bit of time to look at some of the best young players that are in the Premier League that might still be playing at the moment. So Marcus Rashford is the first player that comes to my mind of a young, good player in the Premier League at the moment who might be still playing. And obviously still is playing. He plays for Brighton, 32 years old, valued at £42 million. But what had his career had then? So he was obviously at United, but then got completely released. Then went to Porto on a free. Did all right there. Good development for him. But for Atletico Madrid, bought him for £40 million. But really, as you can see, didn't make an impact at all, really. Hardly played any games. To be fair, did get a good goal-scoring return in the games that he played, but clearly Atletico didn't like him. Went to Brighton and has done, I've got to say, pretty well, actually. I've got to say, decent goal-scoring returns, particularly in the past 2 seasons or so. So, fair play, Rashford. Paul Pogba is now a coach, apparently. Not with any club, but he's obviously just retired. His career then obviously was at Manchester United before getting released, and Lyon signed him up of all teams. So he could have had any team in the world, but went to Lyon. And to be fair, it looks like with 15, 20, 20, 24 appearances, was part of their rotation setup. So Lyon must have had a really, really good side before going to Barcelona for 63 million, where he spent the rest of his career playing again. Looks like rotation football, where he's either injured a lot or he's just being played in a rotation system. Raheem Sterling then, blimey, he's at Real Madrid right now. What did his career entail then after being released by Man City? Went to Bayern Munich in the Bundesliga, where he got some pretty decent returns, I've got to say, with his ratings. Again, not playing like full seasons by looks of things. He must have been playing like rotation system again, but played very well apparently when he did play before moving to Real Madrid for £56 million. And again, not getting below a 7 rating in any of his seasons that he's been there. So clearly he's had quite a decent career, although, again, not playing a full season by looks of things, like he had been doing at Man City and Liverpool. Mohamed Salah then, after being let go by Liverpool, went to PSG and stayed there for pretty much all his career and got some fantastic goal-scoring returns, I've got to say. That was really, really top from him, I've got to say. 15, 19, 14, 13, 22, 8. Top quality from Mohamed Salah. He's done particularly well before dropping off to Seville at the end of his PSG contract and not really doing much there, unfortunately, but was clearly insane at PSG. Harry Kane then, he is currently at Juventus, 36 years old, still playing. He's played there his entire career after being let go from Tottenham. And he's had some pretty decent goal-scoring returns. Only the one season getting more than 20 goals in the league. Got close a few times, 18, 16s in there as well. But clearly had a pretty decent career at Juventus. Now, I was just looking down the list of Ballon d'Or winners or World Golden Ball winners. There's no one here particularly that I'm seeing that was in the Premier League. But I've just noticed Alexis Sanchez came third one year while playing for Angers SCO. Now, Alexis Sanchez, he's had a proper weird career since leaving Manchester United. He went to Angers SCO, did absolutely incredible, got World Player of the Year, or third in World Player of the Year, before then moving to Villa at the end of his contract and did absolutely nothing at Villa, and then went to Montpellier for 2.1 million, where again, done absolutely nothing. So these 3 years at Angers, he was absolutely incredible, apparently, but it dropped off completely afterwards, so that's a bit of a weird one. And I think the final player that we'll look at, just that I can think of off the top of my head, is John Stones. Now, John Stones, he left Man City, went to PSG, played there for an awful long time before going to Lazio, where he's actually had a pretty decent, apart from this season, where he got, in 5 games, his average rating was a 5.75. Now, I don't think I've ever seen a worse average rating across like all your games. Like maybe one game you'll get a bad rating like that, but in 5 appearances getting that kind of a rating, he's clearly out of it last year right now. Probably should retire pretty soon now at 36 years old, but before that, had a fantastic career, played very well at PSG. So there we go then. That's a bit more of an update for you from last time. We've looked through a few more years of league stuff, and then we've looked through all the cups as well, which I think a lot of you are interested in, and then a few players as well, which I thought you might quite like as well. And I think that's quite interesting, looking at some of those players and how their careers panned out after leaving some of these clubs. So no more episodes of this experiment. I think we've sort of run its course with this one. We've got plenty more plans in the future, though. We've got one coming up very soon to do with reputation. If you have enjoyed today's episode, please do stick around for more. There's going to be a subscribe button in the middle of the screen, and then you've got a choice of 2 videos. You can have another experiment, or you can go and watch the Lincoln Loco 2. We've just started season 11 of the Lincoln Loco 2 as well. So if you want to join in from there, join in from there. You've not missed much, apart from we've got promoted from Step 8 to League 1. It's been a roller coaster. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.